Quentin Tarantino called it his worst film. Kurt Russell drove a matte black murder machine with a skull on the hood. 7 Novas were built, but only 2 survived the carnage of Death Proof. Fact 20. It was actually a 1970 model, not 1971. Despite countless sources labeling it a 1971 Chevrolet Nova, stuntman Mike's Death Proof muscle car was actually a 1970 model. This common confusion likely stems from the movie's promotional materials and general lack of precise vehicle identification in popular culture. The 1970 Nova represented the second year of the second generation, featuring the same basic body style that would continue through 1972. Distinguishing between these model years requires examining subtle details like grille patterns and trim pieces, which most casual viewers wouldn't notice on screen. The car's aggressive matte black paint job, skull and lightning bolt, hood graphics, and menacing presence completely overshadowed any year-specific details. Production designers intentionally aged and weathered all the Novas to look like beaten-up street machines rather than pristine collector pieces. The confusion persists in fan communities, replica builds, and even official merchandise. For Tarantino's purposes, the specific model year mattered far less than capturing the essence of early 1970s muscle car culture. The Nova's intimidating appearance and brutal functionality defined its character more than any production date ever could. Fact 19. The movie poster features a car that never appears. In the film poster, Nova Death Proof's promotional posters and DVD cover artwork feature a 1967 Chevrolet Camaro, yet this iconic muscle car never actually appears anywhere in the movie. Marketing departments apparently decided a Camaro would sell more tickets than accurately representing the Nova, Charger, Challenger, and Mustang that actually starred in the film. The misleading imagery created confusion among fans, who expected to see the sleek Camaro during the movie, but instead watched Kurt Russell terrorize women in a completely different vehicle. This bait-and-switch marketing tactic wasn't uncommon in exploitation cinema, where poster art frequently promised elements that never materialized on screen. Tarantino himself embraced grindhouse traditions by allowing such creative liberties with promotional materials. The 1967 Camaro represented peak muscle car nostalgia and broader market appeal than the more understated Nova. Ironically, the Nova's menacing presence and central role in the film's most shocking sequences made it far more memorable than any Camaro could have been. Collectors and enthusiasts now recognize this poster discrepancy as part of Death Proof's authentic grindhouse homage. The fake Camaro artwork has become a collector's item in its own right, representing Tarantino's commitment to replicating every aspect of 1970s exploitation film marketing, including its occasional dishonesty. Fact 18. Tarantino was inspired by a mechanic's comment about making cars death-proof.
Scary tends to impress.
Is it safe?
Oh.
The entire concept for Death Proof originated from a casual conversation Tarantino had with a friend about purchasing a car. The director expressed concern about dying in a horrific automobile accident like the one depicted in Pulp Fiction, where Vincent Vega accidentally shoots Marvin in the face while riding in Jules's Chevrolet Malibu. His friend suggested buying any car and taking it to a professional stunt team who could death-proof it for $10,000 to $15,000. This throwaway comment lodged itself in Tarantino's imagination for years, evolving into the twisted premise of a psychotic stuntman using reinforced vehicles as murder weapons. The idea brilliantly inverted the safety concept by making the car lethal to passengers while protecting only the driver. Robert Rodriguez later suggested the title Death Proof after hearing Tarantino describe the concept during pre-production for their Grindhouse double feature. Tarantino chose the Nova specifically because it represented an unlikely candidate for such extensive modification, subverting expectations about which cars could become indestructible. The mechanic's offhand remark about death-proofing transformed into an entire film examining stunt culture, exploitation cinema, and automotive obsession. Fact 17. The license plate pays. Homage to Steve McQueen's Bullitt Mustang license plate close-up stuntman. Mike's Nova wore Texas license plate JJZ109, the exact same number as Steve McQueen's legendary 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback in Bullitt. This deliberate tribute honored arguably the most famous car chase sequence in cinema history, where McQueen's detective Frank Bullitt pursued hitmen through San Francisco's hilly streets in that Highland Green Mustang. Tarantino meticulously referenced classic car films throughout Death Proof, and this license plate homage represented the most direct and specific nod to Bullitt's enduring influence. Only the most eagle-eyed viewers or devoted Bullitt fans would recognize the identical plate number, making it a perfect Easter egg for true cinephiles. The choice of Bullitt wasn't accidental. That 1968 film revolutionized automotive action sequences by featuring real cars at genuine high speeds rather than undercranked camera tricks. Tarantino adopted this same philosophy for Death Proof, insisting on practical stunts at actual velocities. The JJZ109 plate connected Death Proof to a lineage of authentic car cinema spanning 4 decades. Unlike the California plate on McQueen's Mustang, stuntman Mike's version appeared as a Texas registration to match the film's Austin setting. Fact 16, 7 Novas were built, but only 2 survived filming. Production constructed 7 separate 1970 Chevrolet Novas for Death Proof, but the brutal filming process destroyed 5 of them, leaving only 2 survivors. The production nicknamed each car for easy identification. The Jesus remained the most functional stunt vehicle that survived relatively intact, while the Prius was literally detonated during the spectacular cannon roll sequence. 3 other Novas sustained irreparable damage from crashes, rolls, and various collision sequences. The Screen Nova served exclusively for close-up dialogue and beauty shots, never participating in the dangerous stunt work. Production crews had to sacrifice multiple vehicles because Tarantino demanded practical effects rather than CGI trickery, requiring real cars to crash, roll, and disintegrate on camera. Each Nova received identical modifications, including roll cages, racing seats, safety equipment, and the distinctive skull and lightning bolt paint scheme. Building 7 cars proved more economical than attempting to repair heavily damaged vehicles between takes. The wholesale destruction of 5 valuable muscle cars demonstrated Tarantino's commitment to authentic grindhouse filmmaking, where expendability trumped preservation. Classic car enthusiasts simultaneously celebrated the realistic action and mourned the loss of 5 potentially restorable 1970s Novas. The 2 survivors became highly sought-after pieces of cinema history. Fact 15, the Screen, car sold for $40,000. The surviving Screen Nova, used exclusively for close-up filming and never driven during stunt sequences, appeared for auction in 2019 with a $40,000 starting bid. This particular car featured every detail visible on screen, including the full roll cage, Simpson racing seat, skull and lightning bolt graphics, and artificially aged components that production designers had weathered and clear-coated. The vehicle came with a certificate of authenticity from Troublemaker Studios, signed by production designer Stephen Joyner and head prop fabricator Jeff Poss, who built the car specifically for Death Proof. Included specifications listed the original 350 cubic inch V8 engine, TH350 transmission, 650 Edelbrock carburetor, hooker headers, Moroso valve covers, B and M shifter, quick disconnect steering wheel, Positrack rear end differential, slapper bars, and JAZ 12-gallon fuel cell with rollover valves. The car even retained the unusual production modification of a hole cut from the engine bay through the dashboard, where crews pumped air conditioning into the vehicle during hot Texas filming. European storage in a climate-controlled showroom helped preserve the Nova's condition. The $40,000 price reflected both the car's movie pedigree and Kurt Russell's connection to the vehicle. Collectors valued screen-used props from Tarantino films particularly highly due to his devoted fan base and meticulous attention to automotive authenticity. Fact 14. Buddy Joe Hooker bought the Jesus for $500 and gave it to his son. When filming Wrapped, legendary stuntman Buddy Joe Hooker purchased the Jesus Nova for just $500 and presented it to his teenage son, Kanan, as his first car. This incredible bargain represented one of the shrewdest automotive investments in Hollywood history, as a screen-used Tarantino vehicle worth tens of thousands of dollars changed hands for less than most people spend on a used economy car. Buddy Joe had performed the film's most dangerous stunts, including the terrifying cannon roll sequence. So, Tarantino offered him the surviving stunt car as appreciation for his fearless work. Kanan received a 400-horsepower Death Proof Nova, complete with skull and lightning bolt graphics, full roll cage, and all the modifications that made it survive multiple high-speed crashes during production. The engine was firing on only 6 of 8 cylinders when they started restoration, so father and son tore down the 350 V8 completely and bored the block out to 383 cubic inches. They installed a high-performance cam, aluminum heads, an Edelbrock carburetor, an aftermarket radiator, and Hooker headers, appropriately named given the family connection, bringing output to approximately 425 horsepower. Kanan actually drove this priceless piece of cinema history to high school for 5 years, treating it like any regular Chevrolet rather than a museum piece. He removed the kill cage from the passenger area and installed proper racing seats with seatbelts so he could safely transport friends. Fact 13. The engine sound was artificially enhanced for maximum aggression. Real Chevrolet Novas produce relatively quiet engine notes, but Tarantino's production team artificially amplified the exhaust sounds to create a more menacing, aggressive presence on screen. This audio manipulation followed a common Hollywood practice where reality is unrealistic. Audiences expect muscle cars to sound like thunderous beasts even when actual vintage vehicles run much more sedately. The production enhanced the Nova's soundtrack with additional recording layers, mixing in louder exhaust notes and more pronounced mechanical sounds that matched viewer expectations rather than acoustic reality. Tarantino wanted stuntman Mike's car to orally intimidate victims before physically destroying them, requiring an engine note that felt genuinely threatening. Sound designers drew from recordings of high-performance race engines and modern muscle cars to supplement the actual Nova's more modest output. The enhanced audio created a visceral impact during stalking sequences where the Nova prowled through Austin's streets hunting prey. Movie audiences had been conditioned by decades of exaggerated car sounds in action films, making authentic period correct. Engine notes seemed disappointingly weak by comparison. This sound enhancement represented another layer of Tarantino's grindhouse homage, where exploitation films routinely oversold their modest productions through creative audio work. The artificially pumped-up engine roar became as much a signature element of the car's character as its skull graphics or matte black paint. Fact 12. The rubber duck hood ornament references 1978's Convoy. The chrome rubber duck hood ornament attached to stuntman Mike's Nova directly referenced Chris Christopherson's character, Rubber Duck, and his Mack truck in the 1978 cult car film, Convoy. This specific detail oddly doesn't appear on Death Proof's promotional posters, despite being visible on every version of the Nova throughout the movie. Tarantino selected Convoy as one of his primary influences, so he paid homage with this distinctive hood decoration that fans of the original film would immediately recognize. The rubber duck represented CB radio culture, outlaw truckers, and 1970s automotive rebellion that Convoy celebrated in its story about independent drivers fighting corrupt law enforcement. By placing this icon on a serial killer's murder vehicle, Tarantino subverted Convoy's populist heroism into something sinister and threatening. The duck also appeared on stuntman Mike's second Death Proof car, the 1969 Dodge Charger he drives during the film's second half. Production crews had to source or recreate authentic-looking rubber duck ornaments that match Convoy's original styling, rather than modern reproductions. The ornament's absence from promotional materials demonstrates how marketing departments often overlook subtle homage details that passionate directors include for devoted fans. This small touch exemplified Tarantino's obsessive attention to automotive cinema history and his determination to reward knowledgeable viewers with layered references. Fact 11. Production crews meticulously aged and rusted all components before clear coating. Despite being 30-plus years old when filming began, the Novas still required extensive artificial aging and rusting by production designers who meticulously weathered every body panel, mechanical component, and interior piece before sealing everything with clear coat. This painstaking process ensured the cars looked like authentic beaten-up street machines rather than restored collector pieces or pristine movie props. Tarantino wanted stuntman Mike driving a genuinely rough vehicle that a dangerous loner might actually own, not a showroom-quality restoration that would undermine the character's menacing credibility. The weathering process involved chemical treatments, strategic rust application, paint distressing, and careful aging of chrome and metal components to suggest decades of hard use and minimal maintenance. After achieving the perfect level of deterioration, crews sealed everything with transparent protective coating to prevent actual rust from spreading and destroying the cars during production. This artificial aging created visual authenticity while maintaining structural integrity needed for high-speed stunts and repeated filming takes. The clear coat also protected the distinctive skull and lightning bolt graphics throughout the grueling shoot. Production designers cut corners in some areas, like removing or reducing inner fenders for easier mechanical access, creating a junkyard aesthetic that reinforced the car's utilitarian brutality. The weathered appearance made the Novas look more threatening than polished muscle cars could ever achieve. Fact 10. A cannon propelled the Nova 160 yards down the road. In one take, the film's most spectacular stunt involved detonating a massive cannon that propelled the Prius Nova approximately 160 yards down a road, rolling end over end until it stopped directly in front of the camera, all accomplished in a single perfect take. This cannon roll represented one of the most difficult and dangerous automotive stunts in modern cinema, requiring painstaking planning and split-second precision from legendary stuntman Buddy Joe Hooker, who sat inside the tumbling vehicle throughout the entire sequence. The explosive charge had to provide exactly the right force to send the Nova, rolling the precise distance without overshooting the camera position or stopping short of the frame. Hooker pioneered cannon roll techniques over his 6-decade career, performing 8 different variations across multiple films within just 4 years. The Death Proof version showcased his absolute mastery of calculating trajectory, rotation, and landing physics. No computer-generated imagery enhanced or supplemented this practical effect. Audiences watched a real car propelled by real explosives with a real human being inside, executing one of the most technically demanding stunts in automotive film history. The fact that Hooker nailed the landing position on the first attempt demonstrated why Tarantino specifically hired him and other legendary stunt performers to execute Death Proof's ambitious action sequences. This old-school practical stunt work embodied everything Tarantino loved about 1970s car movies. Fact 9. Crews cut a hole through the dashboard to pump air conditioning into the car. Texas summer heat during filming proved so intense that production designers cut a hole directly from the engine bay through the dashboard, installing ducting that pumped ice-cold air conditioning into the Nova while shooting. This unusual modification appeared on both surviving cars and remains visible to anyone examining the vehicles today. Actors and stunt performers needed relief from brutal temperatures that could easily exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit inside the all-black car, with no functioning factory climate control, the roll cage, racing equipment, and safety. Modifications had eliminated any original air conditioning components, leaving the interior like a mobile oven under the merciless Austin sun. Rather than compromise shooting schedules or risk heat exhaustion among cast and crew, production teams engineered this expedient solution that funneled cool air directly to occupants. The modification required cutting through firewall material, separating the engine compartment from the passenger area, normally a carefully sealed barrier preventing fumes, heat, and noise from entering the cabin. While practical for comfort, this hole wouldn't exist on any authentic period Nova and represented purely a film production necessity. The modification demonstrates the hidden compromises and creative solutions required when working with vintage vehicles under demanding shooting conditions. Modern viewers watching Death Proof never suspected this climate control trick happening just off camera. Fact 8. The screen car was used only for close-ups and never driven during stunts.
A set crush on Cecil.
Set crush, nigga, please. You were his set wife.
Were and have.
Fucking motherfucker! Fucking let me out of here! I'll fucking rip your fucking
The screen Nova that sold for $40,000 served exclusively for close-up filming with actors and was never driven during any of the movie's dangerous stunt sequences or high-speed action scenes. This separation between beauty cars and stunt vehicles represents standard Hollywood practice for expensive or irreplaceable props that must survive production intact. The screen car featured perfect paint, immaculate interior details, and fully functional components necessary for dialogue scenes, where cameras captured interior conversations or exterior beauty shots. Meanwhile, the Stunt Novas endured crashes, cannon rolls, and brutal treatment that would have destroyed the pristine screen version. Maintaining this dedicated close-up car ensured consistency across multiple takes without worrying about accumulating damage affecting continuity. Production could film Kurt Russell and his victims inside the screen Nova, knowing it would remain in perfect condition for reshoots or additional photography. The car's pristine state after filming made it far more valuable to collectors than battle-scarred stunt vehicles that survived the production's punishment. Ironically, while the screen Nova appeared most prominently on camera during dialogue scenes, the stunt vehicles performed all the memorable action sequences that made Death Proof iconic. The two survivors represented opposite ends of the filmmaking spectrum. One preserved beauty, the other survived war. Fact 7. The Nova featured a custom kill cage for passengers, while protecting only the driver, stuntman. Mike's Nova featured an asymmetrical safety design that protected only the driver's position with a full roll cage, while leaving the passenger area deliberately vulnerable with what production crews nicknamed the kill cage. This twisted inversion of normal safety equipment formed the narrative backbone of Death Proof's premise. The car truly was Death Proof, but exclusively for stuntman Mike himself. An additional reinforced roof panel above the driver's seat provided extra protection during the cannon roll and other violent sequences. The passenger side had been stripped of safety equipment, padded surfaces, and structural reinforcement, ensuring anyone riding there would be catastrophically injured or killed during high-speed collisions. This macabre engineering represented Mike's serial killer methodology, using automotive design as a murder weapon while keeping himself completely safe. The roll cage installation required precise fabrication to fit tightly inside the Nova's relatively compact interior without restricting driver movement or camera angles for filming. Production built functional cages that could genuinely protect stunt performers during actual crashes rather than purely cosmetic props. The stark visual contrast between the heavily protected driver's area and the exposed passenger section reinforced the car's sinister purpose every time cameras showed the interior. Tarantino's mechanical approach to serial killing felt uniquely automotive and distinctly American. Fact 6. Real stunts were performed at speeds between 80 and 100 miles per hour. Death Proof rejected Hollywood's common practice of manipulating camera speeds to make cars appear fast. Instead, performing genuine stunts at actual velocities between 80 and 100 miles per hour. Tarantino described his approach as real cars, real shit, all at full speed, emphasizing the production's commitment to practical effects and authentic danger. The most spectacular example featured stuntwoman Zoe Bell clinging to the hood of the white Dodge Challenger, while both it and stuntman Mike's Charger maintained genuine highway speeds throughout the extended chase sequence. No camera tricks, no CGI enhancement, no speed manipulation. Audiences watched real human beings risking their lives at actual lethal velocities. Bell herself explained the visceral audience response. There's no double, there's no CGI, it's all practical. And you're seeing that the person crying is the same one falling off the damn speeding car. This authenticity registered on a subconscious level with viewers who could instinctively recognize genuine danger versus manufactured movie magic. The car chase sequences required closing actual roads and obtaining permits for extreme high-speed photography that most productions would never attempt. Modern action films increasingly rely on digital effects and undercranked cameras that create false speed impressions without genuine risk. Death Proof instead embraced the dangerous authenticity of 1970s car movies that Tarantino sought to honor. Fact 5. Tarantino, openly called Death Proof. His worst film, despite loving it.
Cinéma véridique, j'ai vu le film aux États-Unis, le Grindhouse.
Quentin Tarantino has publicly acknowledged Death Proof as his worst film, while simultaneously expressing deep love and pride for the project. The movie failed commercially when released as part of the Grindhouse double feature, with Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror earning only $4.2 million opening weekend and failing to recoup even half the combined budget. American audiences rejected the old drive-in formula of watching back-to-back trashy exploitation films, forcing Tarantino and Rodriguez to split their double feature apart for international release as separate movies. Tarantino later admitted he over-tweaked Death Proof, suggesting excessive dialogue and pacing issues diluted the action-focused premise. The theatrical cut ran 85 minutes, while the extended DVD version restored 30 minutes of additional material, primarily conversations that slowed narrative momentum. Critics appreciated the film's stunt work and exploitation homage, but criticized its uneven pacing and extensive talkie sequences. Despite commercial disappointment and critical ambivalence, Death Proof developed a devoted cult following among gearheads and Tarantino completists who embraced its specific automotive obsessions. The director's willingness to acknowledge the film's weaknesses while defending its artistic integrity demonstrated rare honesty about a passion project that didn't achieve mainstream success. Death Proof represented Tarantino's purest expression of automotive cinema love, uncompromised by commercial considerations. Fact 4. The 1970 Nova SS was at peak power with the 396 cubic inch engine option. The Chevrolet Nova SS reached its highest factory power levels with the optional 396 cubic inch big block engine, making it the smallest muscle car Chevrolet ever produced during the golden era. While Death Proof's picture cars used modified 350 small blocks, the production chose the Nova specifically because of its giant killer reputation within muscle car culture. The compact Nova body combined with big block power created a uniquely aggressive package that could embarrass larger, more expensive performance cars in straight-line acceleration. Chevrolet offered the L78-396, producing 375 horsepower, transforming the economical compact into a legitimate street terror. The Nova's lightweight construction and short wheelbase made it particularly effective for drag racing and aggressive street performance. Tarantino selected this specific model because it represented working-class muscle, rather than the more glamorous Corvettes, Chevelle, or Camaros that dominated period automotive culture. The Nova's reputation as an underestimated sleeper perfectly matched stuntman Mike's deceptive character, seemingly harmless until revealing lethal capabilities. The car's peak performance years coincided with 1970 through 1972, before emissions regulations and the oil crisis destroyed American muscle car development. Death Proof celebrated this brief golden period when compact cars could pack genuinely dangerous power. Fact 3. The screen. Nova included every authentic racing component visible on film.
Shoot the crash from the inside. That's where you put the camera. They call it a crash box.
The surviving screen Nova retained every authentic racing and stunt component that appeared on camera, including the Simpson racing seat, autometer gauges, B and M shifter, quick disconnect steering wheel, Moroso valve covers, Jazz 12-gallon fuel cell with rollover valves, rally wheels, and fully functional roll cage. These weren't cosmetic props, but genuine high-performance and safety equipment that production installed to create an authentically modified stunt car rather than a Hollywood facade. The Simpson racing seat provided proper support and safety for stunt drivers during high-speed sequences, even though the screen car itself never performed stunts. The quick disconnect steering wheel allowed rapid driver changes between takes while adding period-correct racing aesthetics. B and M shifters represented the gold standard for performance transmission control during the muscle car era, offering precise gear changes and distinctive appearance. Autometer gauges replaced stock instrumentation with race-quality monitoring equipment, showing vital engine parameters. The JAZ fuel cell with rollover valves prevented fuel spillage during crashes and rolls, representing essential safety equipment for stunt vehicles. Rally wheels provided the appropriate vintage performance look, without expensive custom wheels. Every component served both functional and aesthetic purposes, creating a car that could genuinely perform if needed, while looking absolutely authentic on camera. This attention to detail separated Death Proof from typical movie car builds. Fact 2. The Nova appeared in multiple other Tarantino films through different vehicles.
God damn you, Joe. Don't make me do this.
Fuck out my face with that shit. The motherfucker said that shit never had to pick up itty bitty pieces of skull.
Tarantino's fascination with Chevrolet Novas extended beyond Death Proof, with the model appearing in critical scenes throughout his filmography, including Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction's legendary cleanup sequence. In Pulp Fiction, Winston Wolfe coordinates the emergency cleanup of brain matter from inside a Nova after Vincent Vega accidentally shoots Marvin in the face during the ride to Jimmy's house. The Nova became Tarantino's unofficial signature vehicle for depicting automotive violence and its aftermath, representing working-class transportation that could witness or facilitate terrible events. Unlike flashy sports cars or obvious movie vehicles, the Nova blended into everyday American life while harboring dark secrets. This recurring automotive motif demonstrated Tarantino's genuine affection for the model rather than cynical brand placement. The Nova's appearance across multiple films created a subtle thematic connection between works separated by years and different narratives. Tarantino described his love for the Nova when explaining Death Proof's vehicle selection, noting how the unassuming compact could be transformed into a powerhouse machine despite its modest size. The director's automotive choices consistently reflected character and theme rather than mere visual spectacle. Death Proof represented the culmination of Tarantino's Nova obsession, finally placing the vehicle in a starring role after supporting appearances in earlier work. Fact 1. Buddy Joe Hooker set multiple stunt records and pioneered the cannon roll technique. Legendary stuntman, Buddy Joe Hooker brought 6 decades of pioneering automotive stunt work to Death Proof, including world records for the first motorcycle jump over a landing helicopter and rolling a truck 17 times down an embankment, a record that still stands today. The 83-year-old stunt performer began his career as a child actor on television series, including Rin Tin Tin, Leave It to Beaver, and Twilight Zone, before transitioning to professional stunts in the 1960s. His expertise in designing and executing high-risk vehicular maneuvers quickly elevated him to prominence, including serving as Disney Pictures' premier stunt coordinator throughout the 1970s. Hooker performed 8 different cannon roll variations within just 4 years across multiple features, pioneering the extreme vehicle stunt that continues setting standards in modern action filmmaking. His extensive resume includes coordinating legendary car chases in To Live and Die in LA, Tucker, and Jade, while working with acclaimed directors Francis Ford Coppola, William Friedkin, Steven Spielberg, and Hal Ashby. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences inducted Hooker into membership. During the first year, it began limited initiation of stunt coordinators, recognizing his revolutionary contributions to automotive action cinema. Tarantino assembled the best stunt talent in the business for Death Proof, with Hooker representing the absolute pinnacle of practical automotive stunt work that the film celebrated as a dying art form, being replaced by digital effects. That Death Proof Nova survived Tarantino's most controversial film to become a cult icon. Buddy Joe's $500 bargain became his son's high school ride. 7 cars entered production, but only 2 escaped the carnage. The skull and lightning bolts still haunt movie screens, proving sometimes the worst films create the best legends.